I wanted to title this Poor Financial Habits. So I decided to title it Poor Financial Habits. There are many reasons why people lose money, but let us take one step behind. I went to my dentist. I had one implant which was giving me some trouble, and this young kid of a dentist, she checked my teeth and she found gaps, she found food lodgements, etc. And she said a lot of your teeth have deteriorated. And so obviously I said why, and she said bad hygiene, poor habits, and I thought I was brushing my teeth twice a day and blah blah blah, but she said no, but you've not been flossing, you've not been gargling, or maybe you've not been using a mouthwash. Whatever be the reasons, largely the reason is I have not been flossing. My wife does it very well and I don't do it, that's all. So whenever you go to a professional, they tell you what is wrong with you. Like I go to a dietitian, she'll tell me why I'm eating too much carbs and not eating enough protein. I have a dietitian advisor and she's really good, she's well educated and all that, and what she says is right. I have had a bad disciplined food regime. Now when I look at people's financial life, I look at it and say, oh my god, this guy's got poor financial habits. Of course he has poor financial habits. I have poor oral hygiene habits. I have poor food eating habits. I have a poor health lifestyle habit, right? It's a habit. I have got to break that habit. So what are the habits which you need to break? First, stop procrastination learning about money. It does not matter whether you're a lawyer or a chartered accountant or a doctor or anything. In fact, in her talk, Suchita Dalal says there are chartered accountants who have invested in Anugrah Jewellers. Of course, chartered accountants have invested. Chartered accountants are not taught anything about personal finance. Very many chartered accountants can't spell risk. And they can do disastrous things. There are bankers, very very senior bankers who will come and ask me that, Subra, I know 12% per annum which the bank relationship manager promised could not be got, but can't I get 9% per annum for how long a period? For 40 years. Give me a break. You're such a senior guy working in a bank. Do you think anybody can tell you over next 40 years whether you can get 9% or 12%? You got to be joking, right? So first, stop procrastination learning about money. You cannot. You have to understand the basics. You have to understand the relationship between inflation, demand for money, supply of money, how the economy is doing. You need to understand all those things. At least understand the basics. Understand mutual funds, understand banking. You cannot outsource all these things, right? If somebody says, give me your shares, put your shares here and I will give you 12% per annum, at least have the brains to ask, how are you earning 18% or 20% that you want to give me 12%? People don't even ask this. When you make a bank deposit, at least find out whether it's really genuine a bank. Tomorrow if I put Subra Bank, you won't even know whether this is true. So you put money in a cooperative bank, we have no clue what it does. Why did you put it? Because it's in the same building which you live, or it's in the neighboring building. It's so convenient. These are ridiculous reasons to part your money with. You cannot part your money with because somebody tells you, last 3 years he has been giving me good returns. Well, I have a friend who's crossing the tracks for the last 55 years. Does it mean crossing the track is not risky? You got to be joking, right? So first, step one, learn about money, or you're going to lose lot more money. You're going to lose money in a PMC, you're going to lose money in Anugrah Jewellers, you're going to lose your share deposits in Karvi, everything. And why would you deal with somebody like Karvi for other things? And because I met somebody who deals with Karvi for something, and I said, they're the same people who got into trouble. So she tells me, that is okay, but my depository is not with Karvi. Look, you know that the right hand was wrong. Now don't try telling me that the left hand can't do mistakes. Tomorrow you will find something else going wrong. In this country, where frauds are rarely brought to light, what comes to light is maybe 1 in 25 frauds. Why do you still want to continue with a guy who has been proven to be fraudulent in one part of his life? Would you go and invest in Harshad Mehta Mutual Fund or Ketan Parekh Mutual Fund today? Or a CRB Mutual Fund? I still do not know whether the CRB Mutual Fund has been sorted out, but yes, would you do that? And why would you? Would you go and put money in Satyam today in the old format with the old management? Right? So stop giving excuses, start learning about money. Don't get into debt without a thought. If you and your wife are going to be repaying the loan and something happens to one of the incomes, I mean, it could be a happy thing, right? Your wife gets pregnant and she is told that she has to take bed rest, so that income stops. So think before you do anything. Be in the know of what you are doing. You want to borrow, you borrow. See how much you can borrow. Ultimately, try to live your life on one income and completely save stroke invest the other one, so that if one of the income stops, you still know how to live. And if the income continues, your retirement corpus or your any other goal corpus is getting ready faster. Don't depend on both salaries completely and borrow up to your eyebrows and then say, oh, but this COVID is not the problem. Something like COVID was happening in my life every year in the last 4 decades that I have been investing. And Harshad Mehta happened, Ketan Parekh happened, something or the other happens every 10 years. I was amazed at the timing it happened. So in the last 10 years it had to happen. It has happened in 2020, right? 2010 to 2020 we needed something like this. I knew something like this would happen. I'm not saying COVID would have happened, but I knew something like this would happen. And that's the time when you have to sit calm. If you don't learn about money, if you have too much debt, you will know all the theory but not be able to do it, right? Because you have to repay the money. And if you think that the equity markets will give you money to pay your EMI, again, go back to point number 1. Go and learn your money again. You've not learned it at all. Spend less than what you earn. Children from big families, from rich families who have just gone and got themselves a degree to go and sit in their dad's hospital, do not even understand how a hospital is run, do not understand how their life is run. They did not understand how they got the degree, right? So they overspend, they make a mess, and then the business and the personal life are a mess. So first, learn to live on what you are earning, or maybe learn to live on 85% on what you are learning, or what you are earning, and so that the remaining 15% gets invested, right? So do that. Procrastination of financial learning is the most expensive mistake you could be making, so don't do that. You trust your IFA, great, but the Anugrah broker case is going to expose a lot of these advisors who have put in the client's money and their own money. Look at the guy who is leading you or the girl who is leading you to what they are making you do. See from where they are earning their money, right? If you do not understand all that, something is wrong with you. Do you need an investment advisor? Yes, of course you need an investment advisor at the beginning of your career. But after 5 years, your investment advisor is just a sounding board. I don't ask my advisor what to do. I discuss with my advisor because it's absolute value add. It's a 40-year relationship. So he can tell me, no, you don't understand this is not the way it works, so we will not do, and I have to accept it, or he will not execute the transaction. That is the kind of trust we have on each other. Do I need him? Absolutely I need him. Can I go to somebody else and pay lesser brokerage? I can get zero brokerage. I have no problem. I know enough brokers who will call me up and say, okay sir, I will do it to you for free brokerage, but I still value this relationship. I have never ever questioned how much money he makes on my transactions, but I've never ever suspected that he's done a transaction to benefit himself and hurt me. So that is the kind of trust that you have to develop in your financial advisor, in your chartered accountant. If you don't have that kind of a trust, something is wrong with you. But having had the trust and having an advisor, after 5 years, he should just be a sounding board. You can maybe negotiate what he should earn and what you should be paying him, but don't think that sounding board does not have value. Many people who have lost money are because they are with these low-end brokerage houses or zero brokerage or whatever, 5 paise, 10 paise, 20 paise, I don't know. All those places where you're given an RM who will suck the blood out of you, right? So I know an 80-year-old man or 85-year-old man losing money in the market because he did F&O. And who pushed him into his F&O? His relationship manager, who said there is nothing at risk. You can write covered calls. Don't believe this. There is something called risk. I interact with some people on NSCL and they say, oh, we got cheated by this company. Of course you got cheated, but if you thought that 12% return was risk-free, when State Bank of India was paying 7.8% on their 3-year FD, something is wrong with you. You didn't understand the extra premium that you were paying for the risk that you were being asked to take, right? So now don't blame the regulator and everybody else for saying not taking enough action. Of course they should be taking action. It's got nothing to do. I'm sure they should probe the Anugrah case. But look at the origin of why you lost money. You lost money because of greed. You didn't understand what you were doing. Somebody was giving you 12% per annum and you thought this was money for jam. I have to do nothing. I mean, give me a break. Somebody to give you 12 has to earn 18. Right? He is not giving out of his pocket. Many people do not know what is investing and they think because they bought a share they are an investor. You are not an investor just because you bought a share. They got a lot of learning to do and only then you become a good investor or at least become an investor. Also understand one thing. Equity markets give return in a very lumpy way. So you could have held a share for 9 years. It would have given you 2% or 3% return. You would have had to take the jibes of everybody else saying what a stupid stock you have bought or what a stupid scheme in which you have invested. And in the 10th year, it could give you such a huge percentage that all the 9 years problem is forgotten. And vice versa, you could go and invest in a mutual fund which gives you some 200-300% return over the next 12-13 months, and after that for 10 years doesn't give you anything, which means in one it was back-ended, in one it was front-ended. Returns can be up front-ended or back-ended. Look at the Japanese market. Last 30 years it has done nothing. But do remember that 20 years prior to that it did well. So if you entered the Japanese market sometime in the 1960s, believe me, you have not done too badly. But if you entered in 1990, you've got nothing, you've only seen it going down and your SIPs will hurt you more and more, right? So this upfronting can happen over a 5-year period or over a 10-year period or a 15-year period. The only thing which works in equity is to create a portfolio and to be at it for a pretty long period of time. I am surprised when I'm on TV, people come and ask, मैं 2 साल से SIP कर रहा हूँ और अभी भी negative है. There is no guarantee that 2-year SIPs have to be in the black. There is no guarantee that even a 10-year SIP has to be in the black. Historically, going by evidence in India over 10-year periods, very, very unlikely that you will lose money, especially if you do an SIP, right? Not saving enough, not investing enough, I'm not getting into those things, those are obviously there. The other problem is some people are very aggressive while they invest. They put all their money in equity without understanding much, without understanding their own behavior, which means they're going to get into trouble at some stage. There are others who are very conservative and would do on a 15-20 lakh salary, would do a 5,000 rupee SIP in equity and keep all the other balance in bank fixed deposits. Both are bad. Over aggressive is bad and over defensive is bad. Over defensive means you will never be able to retire, especially if you are an employee. If you are an industrialist or a businessman, then things are different. But if you are an employee and you do not invest aggressively, chances are you will not be able to retire. Having said that, it is possible that you get ESOP in a very good company and that itself helps you to retire. If you got ESOPs maybe in the 1990s in HDFC Bank or in Infosys, etc., of course you would have made a lot of money. But other than that, but that is also investment, right? But that may be the only investment that you have that is a super concentrated investment. If you had come to me earlier, I would have said sell off HDFC Bank, sell off Infosys and put money into mutual funds. Diversify your portfolio. but you didn't diversify, so you were benefited by a huge mistake, that was concentration risk. I would never allow you to take that kind of concentration risk if I were your advisor, but the thing is, you took that risk and you benefited. So now you can talk about how you were a genius and you had a concentrated portfolio, but that you have to look at it as you were lucky, right? So I also see people accumulate money, accumulate bills like credit card bills, with every small purchase being done in that, and asking, where should I invest my money? Boss, the smartest investment you can do is go and learn about money, and make sure that when you have debt outstanding, you do not invest